Joining me tonight on this Newshour special is renowned economist Jeffrey Sachs. Many thanks for speaking to Times Now. I just want to ask you, President Trump first said that the war may last 4 weeks, and he said last night it might just end soon. Markets have rebounded over the last 24 hours. Oil prices have stabilized a bit around the $80 to $90 mark after spiking a day earlier. What's your assessment of what's going on in the global market?
Bombing Tehran are inflicting the biggest strike against Iran since the start, according to statements by the U.S. government. So the war has escalated. Market participants, unfortunately, are very naive. But this war is extraordinarily dangerous. It must stop. India will be devastated by what's happening unless this war stops. And so it's extremely important that the BRICS countries say to the United States and to Israel, stop wrecking the world economy, stop your illegal aggression.
Mr. Jeffrey Sachs, why do you say India will be devastated? India has been saying that it's been making arrangements. It has reserves up to about 50 days. It has prioritized supply of LPG for home use.
Well, just India is extremely vulnerable to a prolonged disruption of energy from the Middle East. I'm happy to hear, and I hope it's the case, that there are large reserves. But India is a major oil and gas importer, and this is a major disruption in the world that could get worse. And unfortunately, it's being caused entirely by India's supposed friends, which are not friends at all, in my opinion.
But Mr. Sachs, how will all of this bite Trump and America back home? How is all of this hurting the American economy?
Again, if the war ends immediately, the repercussions will be modest, but negative, of course. And the crimes that have been committed by the United States and Israel will remain a stain on the United States and Israel for the future. But if this war continues, then the repercussions for the whole world will be extremely adverse and negative. The United States economy is already performing poorly, despite the baloney that we hear from our liar-in-chief. Jobs were lost in the most recent jobs report and have been stagnant for months. Living standards are going down. The American public does not like Donald Trump, and all his vaunted illegal trade measures of the past year, which he claimed was going to recreate the jobs in manufacturing, led to a net loss of 100,000 jobs in the manufacturing sector. In other words, he's already a president that is incapable of achieving any of the promises that he made. His party will lose badly in the November elections, and the war that is underway is not only unjust and illegal, both according to U.S. constitutional principles as well as international law, but will have very serious negative consequences for all economies, because oil disruptions, energy disruptions have a sharp downward effect on the whole world economy.
So how long will this war continue? Because everybody is looking at their crystal balls to make an estimate of what's going to happen. When is this theater of war going to end?
Well, it depends. If India and China and Russia and Brazil and South Africa and the rest of the BRICS countries raise their voice to say a grossly illegal and dangerous and murderous war must stop now, that will mean that it will stop because the United States cannot resist the will of the world. But if everyone's quiet, then it's likely that the United States will continue to batter and murder and carpet bomb Iran. And Iran will respond, and Iran will devastate the energy networks and infrastructure of the Gulf region, because these countries have basically run out of anti-missile defense. So we can't say when, just as a prediction, but we can say how to stop the war. And that is for India and China and other great powers to raise their voice clearly that this is an absolutely illegal war of aggression and it must stop.
Mr. Sachs, are you clear about what Trump's objectives are? Iran has been defined by appointing Khamenei's son as his successor. Trump says he will not accept this. Israel says it will take him out. What does Trump really want? Does he want to control access of the Straits of Hormuz? Is that what this is all about?
Well, there's no doubt. The United States wants global hegemony. It's always wanted global hegemony, but it's never had an unhinged leader the way that it does now that acts upon this without any regard to international law, dangers, or consequences. Israel wants regional hegemony. So, of course, the United States wants control over the Strait of Hormuz because it wants to take control over Iran. It doesn't just want regime change, it wants a puppet regime, like the United States installed in 1953. Then the Iranians said no in 1979 to a puppet regime. Now the United States and Israel are trying to install a puppet regime once again. With the puppet regime, the Strait of Hormuz would be opened or closed on the U.S. whims, not on Iran's whims. The Gulf countries are already basically operated by the United States, which has military bases all through the region and essentially keeps those countries compliant. And the U.S. wants the same with Iran.
What do you think are India's options? It has spoken of diversifying its sources of supply, and also buying oil from Russia is back on the table. It has entered into agreements with Canada as well.
Well, it's certainly feasible. This is a market that adjusts quite quickly in terms of physical flows. But if the amount of physical supply is reduced 10 or 20%, it means that the price will soar. So India will be able to diversify physical supplies, but it won't solve the problem about the cost of those supplies, which will be very, very high and very detrimental for the average Indian household and for the economy as a whole.
So what do you think we're looking at this moment? Some countries have already implemented rationing measures, austerity measures, work from home. Some are closing commercial establishments. Is that the scenario we should be looking at in the near future?
Well, again, I hope that India is not passive diplomatically. India is a great power. It's a crucial voice in the world. The Indian government needs to say to the world and help rally the world to tell the United States and Israel, stop. They should not think or fantasize that they have a free hand. Maybe Israel thinks it can do what it wants because it's friends with the government. After all, there was just a high-level visit. It's very important that Israel and the United States hear that this is completely outrageous to drive the world to an economic crisis or over the economic cliff. India doesn't have to do that alone. It holds the presidency of the most important economic grouping in the whole world, the BRICS countries, which is half of world output and half of the world population. And if the United States and Israel hear that this is completely unacceptable, they will stop, actually.
Mr. Sachs, finally, I also want to ask you, Trump's sons are now investing in companies that will manufacture drones. Do you see this as a conflict of interest?
Donald Trump is the most corrupt president in American history. It's not even arguable. He is surrounded by crooks as well. Everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. Everybody understands that this is about market manipulation, personal wealth, gaming the system. We've never experienced anything quite like this, but it's not in doubt the reality.
Well, as always, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much, Jeffrey Sachs, for joining me on the Newshour tonight.